I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Welcome back to Writing on the Wall. This episode is Be Happy, Don't Worry. You know, we get worried over minor things. If you look at the larger picture, there's not a lot to be worried about. I went scuba diving. I was always careful scuba diving, and I went with an instructor. There were about 5 of us, and we were on a boat with advanced scuba divers as well. So the boat dropped us off, and we went with our instructor. Then the 5 open water divers went down in another location. And I'm scuba diving, very, very careful. Always concerned I might run out of air. I check the gauges. Getting on the boat in seas, waves, a pain in the neck. So anyway, we're down there for 45 minutes, whatever it is. We come back to the boat. The instructor helps us to the ladder. You take your fins off, you throw them on, and then you climb up the ladder in these waves, and your tank is on your back. It's not easy, right? Yeah, and you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to fall back in the water. You don't want to drop a fin, 40 feet down. So we get back in the boat, and the boat goes to the area where it left the open water divers, and they get back on the boat, and the boat's rocking and pitching. The waves are now about 8 feet or 10 feet, and 3 of the open water divers got sick and threw up over the side. They hurled over the side, and I'm saying to myself, these are veterans. They've seen everything. But I read once that in the old British Navy, in the 17th, 18th century era of sailing ships, the thing Patrick O'Brien wrote about so brilliantly, right? Master and commander, that most of the captains of most of these large battleships, these men of the line, these ships of the line, got seasick. Such was the rolling that they got seasick. Nothing to be ashamed about. Happens to the best of them. Outstanding athletes get in slumps. In baseball, they stop hitting. In football, they throw interceptions. In boxing, they lose matches. Outstanding athletes get into slumps. They can't win a golf tournament. It happens. The good ones recover. Sinatra used to forget his lyrics. As he got older, I was on a stage once in Atlantic City at the old Golden Nugget, owned by Steve Wynn at the time. And I was rehearsing for my speech that evening. And as I was walking the stage rehearsing, there were TV monitors flush with the stage facing up. And I said into my microphone, "Why are these monitors here? You could step on them and fall right through. This is ridiculous." And the guy in the booth, the unseen voice, says, "Those are Mr. Sinatra's teleprompters for his appearance here tomorrow." I said, "Well, they're a great idea." And then again, I fell off a stage once. I was speaking in Canada, and the organizer said to me, I was the keynoter, "Look, we have a 2-level stage." I said, "I know that, I can see that." And I said, how many keynotes have I given? I'll be fine. They said, "Okay, great, you're a veteran, we understand." And I walked out on the stage and I said good evening and promptly fell off the upper half onto the lower half. I remember once that we were flying back from San Francisco, and the captain of this United flight had told us that the co-pilot, Mr. Josephson, was flying the plane. They say that a lot. And when we got to Newark, the plane hit and bounced about 5 times. I mean, it was one of the worst landings I've ever experienced. It must have been like an aircraft carrier landing, except with a big jet. Boom, 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 boom. And we're all sitting there holding on to the seats, holding on to the armrests. And the plane finally comes to a stop, and the captain comes back on, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying United. You've just experienced Mr. Josephson's marvelous landing on the notoriously bumpy Newark runway." I remember being at a restaurant. We were all working in the same company, and we were there with our spouses. And one of the women, one of the wives of one of our employees, ordered an artichoke because the rest of us did. And she stared at this artichoke like it just landed from Mars. Obviously, she had never had an artichoke and didn't know how to eat it. And an artichoke, when it's served in this manner, you take off the leaves and you scrape off the edible part with your teeth. And the senior manager present saw her discomfort, and he said to her, "Allow me." And he took one of the leaves and he showed her how to eat it. I thought that was very gallant. I also saw that it can happen to anybody. I had a math teacher in high school who was married to a math teacher, husband and wife math teachers teaching in the same high school. Brilliant people. And she sat down one day looking miserable. She had sheets and a pen and a calculator. I said, what's wrong? She said, my husband and I spent 3 hours last night trying to calculate the square footage of our own roof to have it redone, and we can't figure it out. Newscasters every day say between you and I. It's a horrendous affectation. Between you and I. They think it's elegant. Yet the writer who wrote that didn't get it, and the editor didn't get it, and the teleprompter person didn't get it, and the director didn't get it, and they don't get it. I brought my car in the other day, a high-priced car, expensive car, and it says it needs service. And I said, I've only had it 4 months. Is it homesick? The guy said, I'll reprogram it. My optometrist puts me through all the drills. I go once a year. And he says to me, okay, there's a slight deviation here, but new prescription. I said, fine. I didn't notice a real difference when he tried things out on me, but he's the expert. He's a doctor. So I went to my eyeglass place to get replacement lenses and glasses. And he looks at these and he says, that's the same prescription as last year. Exact same, he says to me. I said, nice seeing you. My wife and I had similar cars at one point. They were different colors, but otherwise the exact same car. And at the time, there was no Easy Pass. You used tokens for bridges, and the Newport Bridge requires a token. And my wife came back one day from a meeting in Newport and said, my tokens don't work. I said, what do you mean your tokens don't work? She said, they stopped working. The arm wouldn't go up. I had to honk my horn, get the guy. She said, can I take the tokens from your car? I have another meeting in a couple of days. I said, sure. She came back from that meeting and said, your tokens don't work either. They must have changed something at the bridge. I said, don't be silly. I've been to Newport in my car, and the tokens work. She said, no, they don't. I said, okay, we're going to do something I saw in a movie once. I said, it's called Fate is the Hunter. And a pilot went up and did everything his colleague had done, every single thing in the plane, to prove that the crash was not pilot error. So I said, we're going to go out in your car, you do everything you usually do, I'm going to sit in the passenger seat and observe. Same speed, same lane. So she drives to Newport the way she always does. I said, now which toll booth do you go through? She says, extreme left. I said, okay, she goes to extreme left. When do you take out your token? Right now. She takes it out of the console. I said, now put your window down. She put her window out at the same time she always does, and she leaned over and she threw the token into a garbage can. She said, see, nothing happens, and she begins honking her horn. Garbage in, garbage out. We had a very fancy Mars lander, years ago. $78 trillion, whatever it was. Goes to Mars, makes it, launches the landing module, and the thing crashes. That's because Houston was using inches and Pasadena was using centimeters. And they never realized it. Yet there was a memo from an engineer who said, before this took off, one of us is using inches and the other centimeters, we need to change that. And it was ignored. I was involved in fundraising at my church. And in evening when I was reading, when you read in church in normal times, there's a procession. And you have altar servers, and then the person reading, and then the priest. And we were waiting for the procession. And I said to the priest, we're not doing well in this fundraiser. He said, we're not doing well in the other fundraiser or on the weekly collections. I said, do you think people have other things on their mind? He said, no, they're too effing cheap, except he didn't say effing. He was upset. Listen, you and I make mistakes. You and I are imperfect. So is everybody else. And not anything I said here is devastating. Stuff happens. I'm going to give you a secret I learned in New York, where I grew up. Forget about it.